Commencing infiltration to grid 086. Creating backdoor into system. Deactivating lock on vertical catapult. Connecting steam cylinders. Launching. Get to work, shall we?
Starfield had a kung fu grip on me, and the Lords of the Fallen is about to do the same, so while I've got the time, let's break down Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. I have not played any of the previous entries in the Armored Core series, so I'll be explaining things as if you, the viewer, are in the same boat, adrift in a sea of charred metal and spent shell casings. Armored Core 6 was developed by From Software and published by Bandai Namco. I have already done developer spots for both companies in the Elden Ring and Scarlet Nexus breakdowns respectively, so feel free to follow the links below to those videos if you want to hear those. The story of Armored Core is about as bleak and miserable as you'd expect from a From Software title. Essentially, you are an AC pilot working as an independent mercenary. You are sent by your handler, Walter, to make a name for yourself on the planet of Rubicon. So you touch down planetside, illegally, and pilfer a mercenary license from the crispy wreckage of another AC pilot who, from the looks of it, was forcibly unsubscribed from life. The tutorial ends when you find an appropriate license, granting you the callsign Raven, and then you are set upon by a massive attack chopper. Now, being a Souls veteran, I expected the usual treatment. The first bit of gameplay teaches you the controls, and then a boss appears that you have no real way of beating at the moment. The boss inevitably kills you, then a cutscene plays, and then you start the game for realsies.
Hold on, man!
Armored Core 6 said, no, fuck that, you have to win this fight. And boy was it a trial by fire. That initial boss was more than a handful for a lot of players, and really hammers home what you can expect from the rest of the game. Sweaty, pulse-pounding, mech-on-mech action. ACs are not as numerous as you would think, with most of them being employed by one of the corporate factions doing business around the planet. Most of the enemies you encounter use MTs, which are nowhere near as advanced as an AC. Just picture a guy sitting in a bipedal Tonka truck with a machine gun duct taped to it, making his peace with God as a literal Gundam is barreling towards him at Mach 2. As you would expect from piloting a 35-foot tall killing machine, there are a lot of technical specs and stat explanations that you need in order to understand what the hell you're doing when customizing your AC and building your arsenal. In order to not bore anyone, I'm going to attempt to impart upon you a surface-level understanding of the most relevant stats, but before we get into that, let's go over basic controls and game mode types in order to set the stage. Missions come in all shapes and sizes, so to speak. The areas you can explore on Rubicon range from small arenas to sprawling landscapes, sometimes with extreme verticality. You'll be given a main objective and be presented with base pay for that objective. The total amount of pay that you walk away with after a mission depends on a variety of factors. For one, sometimes there will be additional mission objectives, the best one being extra pay per enemy killed. Obviously, that means kill everything, but it's not that simple. Pay is docked if your AC takes damage, and pay is docked based on how much ammunition you burn through by the time the mission is over. Missions that feature a big boss battle will usually have a supply Sherpa right before the boss fight, which restocks your ammo and repair kits as well as healing you to 100%, basically resetting the docked pay for AC damage or ammo spent, giving you one last chance to ace the boss like a pro and get that bag. Unfortunately, supply Sherpas do not allow you to change your assembly or loadout to better handle the boss that's ahead. You have to be killed in order to do that. This means, if you want to complete a mission with no deaths, you'll have to have the perfect loadout and strategy that takes every part of the mission into account before beginning. If that seems intimidating, it was, initially. Being fresh to the series, I knew I had to get some practice in so I could become the unstoppable killing machine that I always aimed to become in a From Software game. So, once I saw that there was a training mode, I immediately went in. In training, you can do an AC test, which provides a safe environment to test your current AC assembly against carefully picked groups of opponents, or you can take on training exercises that teach you the basics of combat, as well as the advantages of different weapons or movement types. Also, doing the training exercises will award you with new AC parts to use, so it's completely worth it to do them. Next, we have Arena Challenges. Arenas are essentially duels where you 1v1 enemy pilots, AI recreations of AC pilots that you've already killed or haven't killed yet. Defeating your opponent gets you a small payout, a few OST chips for OS tuning, which I'll explain later, and saves the opponent's AC data for you to load up later if you'd like to look and fight like them. A 1v1 fight seems easy enough until you realize that the enemy AC pilots typically move just as fast as you can, if not faster, and fight a whole lot like another player would, which means these battles call for an entirely different AC assembly than your average mission would. Not to mention, where you can usually get 3 repair kits to use in a mission, those kits being your only method of healing save for a supply Sherpa, you get 0 repair kits in arena duels, so you'll have to be at your best. Speaking of being at your best, we have the Nest mode, which unlocks after completing Chapter 2. Nest is essentially the arena, but you're fighting actual players in PvP, and you can currently play 1v1 or 3-on-3 matches. I've never been a fan of the PvP aspects of any FromSoft game to date, and I'm sure as hell not starting now. Moving right along, combat comes down to either you outpacing your enemies, outlasting them, or both. Whatever my loadout is, I lean heavily on mobility, so I boost damn near constantly to dodge incoming missile fire, bullets, lasers, or all of the above. Combat can go from 0 to 100 fast, and no enemy will hesitate to turn you into a trendy junkyard sculpture if you let your guard down. Your aim is autofocused to whatever enters the big reticule in the center of your screen, which is framed by meters denoting the current ammo levels or overheat statuses of your handheld or shoulder-mounted weapons. The ammo numbers are also noted on the lower right of your HUD, but I rarely look down there as I'm always darting around trying to avoid taking one of the many L's this game is keen on giving me. Your AC's onboard systems also call out when your health or ammunition levels decrease significantly,
AP at 30%.
reminding you to use one of your 3 repair kits in order to heal up or finish the fight before you're out of bullets. Be warned, later on in the game, enemy AC pilots will begin to use repair kits as well, so use yours sparingly and do what you can to avoid taking unnecessary damage. Funny enough, I tried a dual napalm bomber build as a joke, and those weapons have low ammo reserves. I found out, if you run out of ammo in your handheld guns, your AC just discards them and resorts to fisticuffs, which were actually more than enough to dispatch normal enemies. It's only a matter of time before someone posts a fists-only run of this game if they haven't already. Anyway, the enemy types you'll be facing will greatly influence your loadout. Unfortunately, the game doesn't tell you exactly what kind and how many enemies you will face once you're in mission, forcing you to make an educated guess based on the mission briefing and base pay amount. If the pay is low, you'll probably be fine with whatever. If the pay is 200k or above, prepare for war. The variety of enemies in Armored Core means your loadout will more often than not also be varied. Some enemies have heavy frontal plating, forcing you to outmaneuver them to get around behind them, or equip vertical missile launchers to circumvent their defenses and take them out. Fighting an enemy AC, you'll either need to match their speed or have enough health and defenses to tank their damage while dishing out your own. Fighting a big boss, it may be big and stationary, or smaller and sucking down nitrous like as Fast and the Furious. There are a few special enemy types that pose a unique threat, but I won't spoil those for you. Your first run at a mission will always be a learning experience, so just grit your teeth and get it done. You can refine your loadout and replay the mission as many times as you want later. Not to mention, completing the campaign missions usually brings new AC parts or weapons to the parts shop for purchase, and you can bring those new weapons with you on 99% of the replayable missions that are available. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Your AC design. The parts you select for your AC assembly will dictate how well or how poorly you do in combat situations. Let's start with the inner components, your booster, FCS, and generator. It helps to have an idea of what kind of build you're going for, so let's say we're going for a medium-range, all-rounder sort of assembly. Generally, your booster affects how fast you can fly and how reliably you can quick boost, QB, or dodge. There are no iframe dodges in Armored Core, so your ability to is vital to your survival. In this instance, I'll go with the BST G2 PO4. Next, the FCS, which I think stands for Firearm Control System. The FCS affects how consistent your weapon targeting is at close, medium, and long ranges, as well as how quickly and accurately your shoulder-mounted weapons will lock on. Since I'm going with a focus on medium range, this FCS G2 PO5 will do nicely. Up next, we have the generator, which affects your energy, EN, uses, which is basically stamina. For medium range build, we'll still have to QB a fair amount to dodge enemy fire, which means we'll need a generator that can handle that. Out of the generators I have, the DFGN02 boasts high EN recharge and a shorter recharge delay, but the amount of EN it provides is abysmal, as is the weight of the part and its EN output, or its ability to support parts with higher EN consumption. Meanwhile, the VP20S weighs a hair less, but its stat values are more balanced across the board, so I went with that one. OS tuning provides expansions which are technically an inner component, so I'll go over those now. As mentioned earlier, completing arena fights gets you OST chips, which can be spent to tune your AC's OS to bring it more in line with your preferred playstyle. There are tunings or optimizations such as damage mitigation or repair kit effectiveness, system unlocks like manual aiming or the quick turn maneuver, and core expansions which you can activate in combat as a sort of last resort tactic, but they must be equipped in order to be used. I used to use the Pulse Armor expansion, which provides you with a 10-second pulse shield that absorbs a modest amount of damage before dissipating. After that wasn't doing it for me, I switched to the Terminal Armor that will shield your AC from all damage once you hit 1 AP, allowing you the opportunity to use a repair kit if you can, or continue fighting for a very short time. If you change your mind about your OS tuning choices later on down the line, you can reset them all for a small amount of currency. With inner components out of the way, let's move on to the AC's frame. All frame parts combined determine your AC's health pool, but each part has further importance beyond that. Your AC's legs are what affects how well you can move with your current load, or the physical weight of everything you have equipped on your AC, from the weapons down to the inner components. Different legs also have broadly different movement styles. Standard bipedal legs are what we're going with for the sake of our medium range build, but let's say you wanted to equip the heaviest, most expensive guns you can find. You could go with tetrapod legs, which mitigate the absurd recoil you would experience using heavy weapons on bipedal legs, while also giving you the added ability to hover in the air for a decent time while raining death from above onto whatever is in front of you. If you want to be more on the nose, you can go with tank treads, which will ensure you will not be participating in aerial combat, but you will be able to shrug off whatever the enemy may throw at you while you Tokyo drift around the battlefield. There are also reverse joint legs, which allow for quicker transitions to aerial combat by giving your AC a powerful jump, as well as making your QBs function more like a lateral jump. AC leg parts also affect your AC's attitude stability, which is the maximum strain your attitude control system, or ACS, can support. Basically, when you or an enemy sustains enough damage, the ACS gauge will fill, and once it reaches its limit, that unit will stagger, leaving them wide open for punishment. To avoid that, either be fast enough to avoid damage or tanky enough to shrug it off. Simple, right? Your AC's arms have two unique stats to watch: your arm's load limit and firearm specialization. Your arm's load limit mitigates dips in target tracking due to enemy movements and lessens the recoil you'll suffer when firing heavy weaponry. Firearm specialization is there to further improve how much your guns stay on target. Moving right along, we have the armored core.
He said it! He said it!
Your AC's chest amplifies the final EN output of your chosen generator, affects attitude stability, and also provides the most sizable bit of your AC's total health.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
Last but not least, the AC's head. The unique stats of the headpiece include system recovery and how well your scan works. Your system recovery stat determines how quickly your AC recovers from system abnormalities, such as being set on fire or shocked by electricity. As for the scan function, its primary use is to locate enemies that are otherwise obscured or hiding behind cover, and your head part affects the scan's effective range, as well as how long scanned enemies remain on radar. The HD012 Melander head part has greater values across the board, but I've gone with the VP series for the other three frame parts thus far, and I like to match, so we're going with the VP44S head. Finally, it's time to finish our build by selecting our weapons. Just as we selected our other parts, weapon choice comes down to your personal playstyle. At least, it should, but as I mentioned earlier, you rarely know what you're going up against until it's going up against you, so it's best to have a varied loadout to suit most situations. For damage types, we've got kinetic, energy, and explosive. Kinetic weapons can penetrate plasma shields with ease, but must be reloaded either manually or once the mag is empty. Energy weapons do not have set magazines, instead overheating if you get too trigger happy. Lastly, explosive weapons usually fire one or two massive shots followed by sizable recoil and a lengthy reload, but hit hard enough to greatly fill the enemy's ACS gauge if not kill them outright. The higher the attack power and impact means the fewer rounds the weapon will carry, and vice versa. Obviously, some weapons fall in between the cut and dry classifications they are given, but I'm keeping it simple for the sake of this lesson. In my case, I typically roll with a blade on my left arm to cause massive damage once I stagger the enemy, or if I want to cut through frontal armor plating, and a deployable shield for my left back unit to mitigate incoming damage in case I QB too recklessly and run out of EN for the moment. For my right back unit, I like to go with a vertical launcher like the 8-cell BML G1 PO3 VTC-08, since the missiles fly upwards and circumvent frontal armor plating, and because I tend to miss with forward-firing missiles, all the time. If you are in enclosed spaces, obviously vertical firing missiles will do you no good, but that's where my sword could pick up the slack. As for my right arm, since my sword is EN based, I go for a hard-hitting mid-ranged option like the LR-036 Curtis. Even though its attack power and impact are low, it does decent damage and can also be charged up for even greater damage. Sometimes I get used to my typical loadout so much that when I switch weapons, like switching my left arm sword to a firearm, I will instinctively close in on a target to use my sword and then wonder why the hell my sword isn't working, only to remember what I did. This is the worst when I go from dual wielding guns to using a sword again because I'll accidentally use my sword, which leaves you prone to attack for a second before and after your sword swing. Against enemy ACs or bosses, you can imagine why this would be a problem. Weapons, parts, and components can be bought from the parts shop using the pay you receive from missions or arena challenges. One final tip, mind your current load and EN load because those affect your boost speed and your EN recovery speed respectively. The main stats you should be worried about are always visible on the lower right of the AC assembly interface, and for a deeper dive into all stats, you can display a larger breakdown of them with the press of a button. And with that, we have our AC assembly complete. Now you can head on over to the paint shop to give your AC a fresh coat of candy paint and then slap on some decals if you so desire, and you're done. If you want to experiment with different builds or simply save builds for certain mission types, you can save up to 40 AC assemblies under AC data, or if you are playing the game with online features enabled, even share or download other players' AC assemblies using a share ID. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you are ready to be all you can be and pilot an AC. The overall gameplay experience of Armored Core 6 has been favorable in most cases, but as with any game, it comes down to how well you understand the game mechanics. There's one boss that had me questioning life because of how hopeless it seemed, only for me to realize I was using the wrong damage type against it, and that's why I was suffering as much as I was. I see the lack of iframe dodging, or ways to cheese bosses, to be this game's greatest strength because it's further reinforcing what the narrative beats of the story constantly tell you. Only the most skilled AC pilots survive. Of course, I'm biased because I have yet to play a From Software game that I didn't like. Finding a build or loadout that best suits your playstyle is key to victory, and fortunately, you can sell your AC parts back to the shop for the same price you bought them for, which allows you to rotate parts in and out of your collection as necessary. Or you can do what I did and just farm missions with big payouts in order to purchase almost every part. Honestly, that's probably why my first playthrough took 48 hours to complete. Upon completion of Armored Core 6, you can play through the campaign again to unlock new AC parts, unlock new weapons, play new campaign missions, take on new arena battles, and also experience different endings, ensuring this game will hold your focus even after you manage to beat it once, or twice. That about does it for this breakdown of Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. The game is available now on PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, Series X and S, and Microsoft Windows for the worthwhile price of $60. If you head on over to Green Man Gaming using the link in the description, you can get 10% off on the PC version. If this video was informative and enjoyable, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. This has been your handler, Cygnus Jason, and we've got work to do.